What we want to do is clean up this mock-up a little bit. We have the main sections in place, but we still have some placeholder areas, like up here in the navigation section, also in the team section, and we really haven't done much with the footer, so we still have a little bit of work to do here. Let's finish the team section. The first thing that I want to do is update this rectangle to an actual button. So we can come over to the team layer group. You'll notice right now it's called Rectangle 3. I'll go ahead and rename that button so it makes a little bit more sense in terms of what it represents. I don't think I like the gray fill color as a button. Maybe something a little bit brighter, like a white, and then we can add some type of stroke. So what I'd like you to do is come over and choose this black arrow down here towards the bottom. It's called the Path Selection Tool. A is the keyboard shortcut. And once you select it, you'll notice that the fill color appears up here towards the top. And what I'd like to do is change that to a white color. I then want to add a stroke, and that stroke can be that gray color, but I don't want it to be this thick. I'll go ahead and change that 3 to a 1 and tab away from it. Now, you may want to click away from that rectangle so you have a better idea as to what it looks like. And at this point, the guides make it a little bit more difficult to see. So you may want to come up to the View menu, and from the View menu, you can turn off Extras. Then what we want to do is add a label. We can do that by coming over and choosing the Type tool. You'll notice right now I have Source Sans Pro selected as the font, and that's what I want to use. If you don't have this set, go ahead and punch it in so that font is selected on your machine. You can come down here towards the rectangle and click, and then you can just type in Join Our Team. Now, you may want to control the overall size of the type. That's completely up to you. I'm just going to go ahead and nudge this into place. I think that looks pretty good. The other thing that we want to do is we want to add the name of the employee here. Maybe this is the CEO, maybe this is the Chief Technology Officer, so on and so forth. So in this case, we can come over and choose the Type tool again, but this time I don't know if I want to use Source Sans Pro. Instead, I think I want to use a paragraph style. So what I'm going to do is just type in first name, last name, and I think it's acceptable to use placeholder text in this scenario unless you know the actual name of the employee. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and type in first name, and I'll just leave it at that. And then I'll go ahead and position it. It's kind of hard to see. We're going to change the type color. Go ahead and press the T key on your keyboard and change it to white. Then you can go ahead and click OK. Open up your paragraph styles and go ahead and set that to an H3. So I think that looks pretty good. Now again, you probably want to duplicate this after you nudge it into position. I'm going to go ahead and hold down the Alt key on Windows. It's Option on the Mac. Click and drag this to the right to duplicate it. Now, you may want your guides turned back on. You can come back to the View menu, and from there, you can choose Extras. That way, you know that you're positioning this in the appropriate location. So I think that looks pretty good. We probably want some type of subheading underneath it. So what I'm going to do is select each of these first name layers. I'm going to hold down the Alt key, Option on the Mac, click and drag down a little bit. And if you hold down the Shift key, you'll kind of constrain it. What I want to do is choose the Type tool. T is the keyboard shortcut. And what we want to do is change the appearance of this type a little bit. First of all, we want to make it a little bit smaller. So I'll go ahead and choose a smaller size, which will require some repositioning. If you press the V key on your keyboard, you can do that with the arrow keys on your keyboard. And then you want to essentially apply an italic appearance. So come over and choose the Type tool again. You'll notice here we have options for weight, and there's an italic version. So let's go ahead and choose 300 italic, and now it's turned to an italic type. Let's just go ahead and update each of these to be a little bit more reflective of a job title. So go ahead and type in CEO, and then I'll go ahead and press the Escape key on the keyboard to activate the I-beam. I can come in here and change this to CTO, and again, press Escape. Click here inside this first name placeholder, and I'll go ahead and type this in as CFO. After doing that, I'm going to press the Escape key again, then the V key to activate the Move tool. I'm just going to nudge CFO in place. Same thing with CTO, and the same thing with CEO. So I think this section looks pretty good and fairly complete. Like I said, we still have to deal with this header up here in terms of the navigation and also the footer. But before we do, I just want to add a little bit of an embellishment for this main section. So I'm going to come back to the View menu, and I'm going to turn off Extras to remove the guide. Then I'm going to come over to the Custom Shape tool. With this selected, in the top of the interface, in the options bar, you'll see all these different custom shapes that already exist, but there's more. You'll see a little gear here. If you click it, you can then come down and choose all. And once you choose all, Photoshop is going to ask you if you want to replace the current shapes with all of them or append them. In this case, it doesn't really matter. I'll go ahead and click OK. And then you'll see all these different shapes. But the goal here is to find one that would act as a nice embellishment to surround the Our Mission heading. And right here we have a star. I think that that's something that will work quite well. I'm going to come over here and change the fill color to white. Then we can come over and just click and drag out a small star. Actually, before you do that, however, I'll go ahead and undo that. You want to make sure that you're in the main layer group. So I'll come over here and select a layer within the main layer group. Then I'll come over and click and drag out a star. So once you're happy with the star, press the V key on your keyboard so you can nudge it around. I think that looks pretty good. Maybe you want it to be a little bit smaller. I don't know. I think it's all right. I'm going to Alt drag this or Option drag it on the Mac. You can also hold down the Shift key so you constrain it to the same horizontal plane. And I think that looks pretty good. So in the next video, we'll clean up the header and we'll also clean up the footer, and our mock-up will be complete.